You know what? I think inking is one of the hardest skills to learn as an artist. A pencil sketch can be messy, you can erase it, redraw it, change your mind, but the moment you put ink on paper, every line becomes a decision. There are no control Z's. Every stroke either makes the drawing stronger or exposes your mistakes. Today I am finally inking the Luffy kick drawing and I learned way more from this piece than I expected. One thing that fascinates me about manga is that it's almost entirely black and white. No colors to separate forms, no fancy gradients to save the drawing. Everything has to work with just black ink and white paper and the balance between the two. And honestly, that's much harder than it looks. With only monochrome, every black shape, every white space, every line carries weight. Too much black and the drawing feels muddy, too little and it feels flat and unfinished. Finding that balance is a skill all on its own. For this piece, I used black fineliners for the corners and markers for larger spaces and shadows and white ink pens for highlights and corrections. Most professional mangakas use dip pens, and there's a good reason for that. A dip pen naturally changes line thickness depending on the pressure you apply, giving your drawing a really expensive look. Mine don't quite have that same character, but I definitely want to learn dip pens in the future. It feels like one of those classic manga skills that every artist should experience at least once. While working on this drawing, I also started paying much more attention to white spaces. At first, it sounds strange. You think inking is all about adding black, but sometimes what you don't ink is just as important. Leaving thin white gaps inside cloth folds make the fabric feel softer. Preserving highlights also helps separate forms. Even the overall composition becomes easier to read because your eye has places to rest. That was probably the biggest lesson from this piece. I actually discovered a new technique while making it. I'll make a separate reel explaining that technique because I think it's worth sharing. Another thing that I practiced was basic hatching. Nothing too complicated, just simple groups of lines to suggest shadows and forms. Even a little bit of hatching can make a drawing feel much more three-dimensional. Add a few small details, some textures, a couple of shadow lines, and suddenly the whole piece starts to feel alive. And here's something that has saved me more times than I would like to admit. The white ink pen. It's amazing for cleaning up little ink spills, covering tiny mistakes, bringing back highlights, or removing lines that makes the drawing feel too busy. It's definitely not magic, but it is one of the most useful tools on my desk. Looking back at the finished piece, I can still see plenty of mistakes. My line confidence still needs work, my line weight could be better, there are things I'd do differently next time, but honestly I am proud of this one. Every drawing teaches me something new, and this one has taught me a lot. That's why I am excited to keep drawing, keep inking, and keep improving one page at a time. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. It really means a lot. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share it with someone who loves manga or drawing, and follow along if you'd like to see more of my journey. Let's keep making art, keep learning, and spread the love. See you on the next one.